just finishing on Capitol Hill, where the defense secretary's there, along with some others. And, the big headline had been this sort of ask he's making, this price tag he put on the war, $37.5 billion. And in just the last couple of minutes, we've seen some pretty feisty, fiery moments. I want to play one of them here between the defense secretary and one of the Democrats on this committee.
You stated that on day 14 of this conflict, in the second week of the conflict, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Was that an accurate statement? Yes or no?
Iran's ability to challenge the United States of America at the level at which we're capable of.
That's not what I asked you, Mr. Secretary. You said on day 14 Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Yes or no? Was that an accurate statement?
What the American military has done to the Iranian military is a historic military defeat.
Will you answer the question under oath?
In that context. Generational investment.
Notable there from the defense secretary, again, facing lawmakers, some of them very skeptical about how this war has been conducted, how this war, the timeline of it, the length of it, et cetera, with Hegseth asking for another $70 billion in a war that's cost about $37 so far. Overseas, look at this. The strikes have not let up. This is the latest round from CENTCOM overnight as the region braces for more. Courtney Kube is tracking it all for us. You noted, Courtney, just not long ago, 11 nights now, we've seen these strikes. That's not the only moment that we've seen in the last little bit here, just in the last hour, from a Democrat on the committee and Defense Secretary Hegseth. Here's another one from Kirsten Gillibrand. And we're playing this to show, I think, some of the concerns that some of these lawmakers have about the war against Iran.
You are asking for unlimited money for bombs when people can't feed their families. And I don't know how this administration intends to defend those decisions to the American people.
Not unlimited bombs, Senator. I'm asking for the right bombs at the right time to ensure we can deter our adversaries into the future. And that's how this is a generational investment. And it was the previous administration that didn't fund this department.
Let's take this in two buckets, Court. There's the military and the military operational, and then the political, right? Military operational here. That question from Senator Ossoff about what Hegseth said, and you covered it the first couple of weeks of the war, right? Yeah. The idea that Iran was totally militarily defeated, made combat ineffective.
Yeah, and Secretary Hegseth did not defend or stand behind a single one of the statements that Senator Ossoff. He went through statement after statement, some of them as recently as literally 2 weeks after the war started, others slightly later. But the point that he was making was that Secretary Hegseth was saying things like Iran has been completely defeated militarily. Iran is combat ineffective on the heels of the U.S. losing 3 U.S. service members. There's one missing in action in the past few days. Right. I mean, Secretary Hegseth, there is a return of their remains at Dover Air Force Base. And the notion that Secretary Hegseth said months ago that Iran was combat ineffective, he did not defend that there today.
Fair to say that Iran's military operational capacities have been degraded?
Absolutely. Yeah. They have, and especially their conventional capabilities. I think the reality is, though, this administration, rather than providing facts and statistics, they have been making these broad generalizations and saying things like they are combat ineffective without necessarily defining what that means. Secretary Hegseth again repeated another one that has been just torn apart and over the last several months, and that is the idea that Iran's nuclear facilities were obliterated during Operation Midnight Hammer. If the administration would just provide the facts and provide statistics for what they are striking, how it is genuinely degrading Iran's capabilities, the Secretary of Defense wouldn't have to defend these kinds of vague and generalized statements.
One of the other things you heard the Defense Secretary talk about was the price tag of the war, $37.5 billion so far, as he is now asking for about double that for the continuation of the war against Iran, right?
And it doesn't really make sense, because this hearing today was not just about that $67 billion that the Department of Defense is asking for as part of the supplemental. There's also more than $1 trillion in their base budget. And then, of course, there's the money with the continuing with the reconciliation, that is. So we're talking about billions and billions of dollars. All told, it adds up to over $1.5 trillion.
An intense day for the Defense Secretary, for others on the Hill today. Courtney Kube, we're glad to have you with us to break it all down. We'll keep track of what else emerges. Appreciate that.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or watch live on our YouTube channel.